Start to feel electricity in my body. I start to feel like, and it's a very, very nice feeling. I start to feel it's like I had a cup full of liquid or like energy, and that cup starts to overflow. Hey guys, Gabe with Woven Wings, and I hope you enjoyed the previous video I made on mindfulness practice and this process of melting, going into nature, feeling yourself dissolve. I wanted to touch on one other element of what's really energy-based mindfulness practices or meditation practices. You could also call this qigong, or a form of qigong, or it's not Reiki, but there's a lot of different energy art practices out there. And I think this is important because, again, we often learn about mindfulness these days through more of a cognitive lens, which is what's been studied and been able to be verified in clinical trials. But the reality is that there is a big energetic component to meditation practices, and we see that in actually the health improvements, the reported experiences that come about from people engaging in mindfulness practice. That suggests and indicates that there is a psychosomatic, bioenergetic process that's unfolding when we shift our position of attention. And when we do that, it's not just that our thoughts somehow magically clear, but it's actually that our body begins to regulate in a different way, and something bigger than our body, our body-mind construct, our totality, the mystery, the unity of who we are as human beings starts to behave differently when we shift our focus point and the way we're using our consciousness. And so what I wanted to touch on today is something that helps me in my practice, and that it's not that I quite look for it, but I've come to see it as an indicator that I'm kind of getting somewhere in a given practice session. And that is the actual energetic experience that I begin to have in my body. And so if you are a meditator, or you tried to do a meditation, you're like, oh, give me this 5-minute video, or I'm signing up for this challenge, you probably know that it's, sometimes it's hard, right? But initially, what a lot of us experience, I certainly experience it, is like I sit down, or I lie down, or I get into a standing form and do a practice, and I first feel a lot of, or notice a lot of day-to-day passing thoughts, to-do lists, anxieties, stress, someone who I suddenly hadn't thought of for weeks or hours, and then suddenly, oh, I really have to call that person right now, or I have to do that task right now, right? All that activity starts to just be bubbling around in my head. Well, actually, it was all there, but now that I'm stopped and watching it, I'm aware of it in a different way. As that starts to calm down and dissipate, and I would suggest, if you're having trouble with that step, I would suggest watching the previous video on this kind of melting technique, because I think that can be helpful to kind of short circuit that process and help you get out of your thoughts. But assuming that you're, that you got past the 5 or 10 minute hump, or the 15-minute hump, and you're starting to feel something deeper, what I want to point out is that there's kind of an energetic process that starts to take place in our body, and if we pay attention to it, it can actually be cathartic. It can be catalytic in terms of catapulting us. I hope you like the alliteration there. into something deeper and more profound. And my version of that, as I experience it, it's actually fun to talk about because I haven't really shared this with too many people at this point, is just that I start to feel electricity in my body. I start to feel like, and it's a very, very nice feeling. I start to feel it's like I had a cup full of liquid, or like energy, and that cup starts to overflow. And as it starts to overflow, I start to experience shivers. I start to experience this feeling of kind of like a wave washing over me that is pleasurable. And again, as I start to be able to relax and let go, and I'm not focused and with my attention and awareness just right here in the center of my head, but I actually start to get down into my body and feel the presence of my body, feel my chi, feel my energy, then yeah, I start to feel this building charge. There's an electric quality to it, there's a pleasurable quality to it, and it feels somewhat like my cup is running over. And that right there becomes kind of like a litmus test or a guidepost within my experience where you know, it might look silly or weird on the outside, I'm not sure, but sometimes I'll just be sitting there and, you know, feeling all of this wonderful, amazing energy pouring into me, and along with that energy, as I'm feeling that, I feel my mind start to clarify and refine. So it's not just that there's an absence of my to-do lists and day-to-day anxieties, but now there's a subtlety or a refinement in the quality of my perception, of my observation. And there is an influx of intuitive knowledge, intuitive ideas. And it's hard to describe that except in the qualitative difference from the anxieties and the to-do lists, where there's really like a, a I don't know, I just want to say refined, that there is a quality of perception that feels more closely connected, more deeply rooted in my true nature, or in a more sacred, meaningful dimension of reality. And yeah, it's usually accompanied by feelings of care and warmth and love. And so that electric feeling, it's a consciousness, mental feeling, and it's also an emotional heart feeling. And all of those pieces start moving together. And it's out of those sorts of things that I get real insights. You know, so sometimes I will get action steps or to-dos that are less urgent and you need to do that right now, but are insights like, oh, you should call that person. You know, it's time to connect with them, and it comes from a more intuitive, synchronistic kind of place. And oftentimes, when I will then from that place, obviously feeling pretty nice coming out of space, if I will then reach out to those people, sometimes there's like magic in that. You know, maybe they were thinking about me too, or we have something really valuable and nice to talk about, or there's something from my practice or going on in my life. We just have something to connect over. And so I want to point all this out. I think this is a bit of a difficult place for dialogue and conversation, because it is so subtle. Okay, and it's easy as we're thinking and trying to talk about these things for the mind, the rational mind, to kind of come in, or the critical mind, and be like, I don't, what are you talking about? You know, I don't get what you're talking about, or that sounds like a bunch of woo-woo stuff, or I don't think it's real. But I guess what I'm saying, as someone who's practiced this for a long time now, is that it's 100% real. And it is something that is life-changing when you experience it. It is nourishing. As I said, it's pleasurable, but it's not hedonistic. It's warm, it's uplifting, it's inspiring and encouraging. And so it's definitely something worth feeling and checking out. And so again, I would kind of recommend, if that sounds like something good to you, you know, you can try to connect with it in your practice, or you know, whether that's a formal mindfulness practice or prayer or going into nature or whatever it is, journaling. But you might like to try, like, go to again the previous video and try the exercise around melting and then connecting. And of course, if you're very interested in developing this, I'm going to be having more specific offerings around this, and we'll start having some, you know, deeper dives that you can do to really actually practice this, have a practice audio if that's helpful to you, which it is for a lot of people at first. to just get into the experience and actually not just talk about it or try it on intellectually, which is kind of what we're doing in this video, but to actually get into the experience of it in your body, and in your spirit and mind. And so I hope this is illuminating or interesting to you. It gives you something to think about, or maybe something that resonates with something you've experienced yourself too. Regardless, either way, I would love to hear about it. So leave us a comment. And of course, as always, please subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends or somebody who you think could benefit from this kind of content, centered around uplifting your life and living a meaningful, energetically balanced, vibrant life. I really appreciate the chance to get to share this with you guys. Thank you for tuning in with me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.